Hello everybody, Jim here. It's been a while because I've both been far away and very ill, and my computer broke, and half my software quit working when the computer was finally fixed. In short, it has not been a fun month, but things seem to be working again for now, so we're doing this. Again, it seems I must apologize for the quality of my voice, but I don't want to wait any longer to make a video because it's been so long already. Sadly, I made the mistake of letting my children play with public Legos just before a long car ride, and thanks to those disgusting little incubators and the close confines of my motor vehicle, my immune system didn't have a chance. It has been a rough month. Remember, kids, Lego stores are fun, but just say no to your children. Be the mean parent. It's better for everybody. But I'm not here to talk about the tiny monsters that ruin my life. I should probably specify that I mean the germs, not the children. Although, well, anyway. I'm here to talk about Star Citizen's newest concept ship, the Vulcan. I really like this one, obviously, because it is, it's an industrial ship. And it's most likely named after the Roman god of fire and smithery. Because, you know, it provides fuel to burn and repairs metal stuff, so that makes sense. But most folks nowadays are probably going to think of Spock. So let's say it got its name because it helps you live long and prosper. Yeah, that's probably it. However it got its name, the Vulcan is the first concept ship in a really long time, probably since the Buccaneer, that, you know, seriously turns my nerd crank. First off, it's another entry-level professional ship, like the Prospector, that seems well-designed for its purpose. This one definitely is exactly what it says on the tin. When you buy this repair and refuel ship, that's exactly and only what it was designed to do. I really love this level of advancement in games because it represents, like, the first real step out of the most basic level of gameplay. It's also usually where I end my run in MMOs because this is often where the time investment really ramps up. Like, to get from the Vulcan to the Starfarer or something, you're going to have to spend a lot more time and energy. And I can't really invest what's needed to get to the next level because of the tiny monsters that ruin my life. Fortunately, this time, I just bought my way past that point in the form of the Crucible of the Starfarer Gemini, two giant ships that exemplify the endgame for people who want a Vulcan. So that's right, I bought my way to the top, just like life. Who says Star Citizen isn't realistic? Anyway, while I may already have the endgame in refueling and repair, that doesn't mean I don't appreciate what the Vulcan is. There are times and places when one little ship with a tiny crew and a minimal amount of resources is actually perfectly suited to the task, while the giant endgame ships might fail spectacularly. So let's have a look at the Vulcan concept and see how it stacks up against its forebearers. By this point in development, the Vulcan has repeatedly been called the offspring of a Crucible and a Starfarer, but I'm not sure that really makes any sense. I mean, how could one spaceship take care of another baby spaceship? Oh, I'm sorry. Sometimes my mental eye, it gets away from me and things get a little bizarre. 1 second, I'll find myself wondering something weird like, what happens to a mommy and daddy spaceship when they really love you? No! Oh, that was close. Oh, too close. So I've gouged out my mental eye just to be safe. Remember, kids, your mental eye can take you places you don't want to go, especially if you think too much about your parents and how you came to be. Gouge out that mental eye now, and you'll save thousands on therapy down the road. Alright, let's talk about something a little less silly and more wholesome, like the design and functionality of the Vulcan concept. The Vulcan is a medium-sized ship, approximately the size of a Freelancer, or, if you prefer, slightly more than twice the size of an Aurora in every dimension. Though you should remember that size is often the first thing to change with the concept ship. so you can't really trust it to be this size when it's finished. There are some very nice interior spaces for solo and small group play, including a cargo hold, 3-person living quarters, a drone control room, component access/engineering section that doubles as a hallway, 2 turrets, and a cockpit with multiple seats. The layout reminds me just a little bit of the Redeemer. Like the Redeemer, the Vulcan is big enough that I think it'll give you a genuine feeling of home in space without being so big that you get lost in the interior. And for those of you watching this video who either haven't played the game or you haven't played on a bigger ship, I've probably spent, no joke, 30 or 40 hours running around on my Starfarer Gemini, and I still occasionally get turned around in the engineering section because I hardly ever visit that deck. I think these middle-sized ships, like the Redeemer, the Freelancer, the Constellation, and now the Cutlass, I think they're perfectly sized for solo and small group play. I really, really like them, and I intend to own one in addition to my 2 giants. In fact, I suspect I'll probably end up spending more time on the cheapest of my 3 ships. Sadly, that mid-sized ship probably won't be the Vulcan, because the functionality is basically the same as my 2 larger ships, and I really want something for exploration or medical endeavors. For defense, the Vulcan has 2 turrets, both, in my opinion, badly placed, which seem to be maybe size 2 in the holo viewer. Both turrets are on opposite sides of the ship, so while you might get decent coverage, most heavy fighters can currently deal effectively with 2 size 2 hardpoints on a turret without breaking a sweat. For the most part, that level of defense only means that the aggressor can't sit in one place and fire with impunity. There are an additional 4 hardpoints of indeterminate size listed on the stats page, and while I cannot for the life of me find them on the HoloViewer model, I think it's safe to assume that they'll be forward-facing for use by the pilot, if, indeed, they exist at all. Those 4 hardpoints, in addition to the forward-facing turret, should be enough to deter any fighter trying to hang out in front of your ship, as long as the pilot isn't busy manning the repair drones. The next level of defense comes in the form of armor, size, and maneuverability. According to the devs, the Vulcan should have some pretty decent armor, allowing it to stay put in fairly hairy situations. The relatively small size of the ship could make it difficult to spot and hit, especially when in and among other ships, and the maneuverability should be fairly good when compared to larger ships like the Crucible and Starfarer, where bulk will make acceleration and turning an arduous process. The last level of defense is one that's often overlooked. There is very, very little reason to attack a Vulcan. It's fairly slow, it's lightly defended, presumably it's easy to catch, it's a support craft with almost no cargo space, and now that CIG has made it fairly clear that pirates won't be able to keep the ships they catch, there's really no reward for taking a Vulcan from its owner. So, unless somebody wants to just ruin your day for funsies, or they're specifically targeting a support craft for a particular objective, they'd be better off forcing you to refuel and repair their stuff for free before setting you on your merry way in the hopes of catching you again. I think of it kind of like catch and release fishing, except the tiny, useless fishies that you catch give you a snack and bandage your boo-boos before you throw them back. And who would want to ruin a resource like that? Just let them go. Keep them around. Maybe you'd catch them again later. To repair, refuel, and rearm other ships, the Vulcan has a set of 4 drones, 2 of which may be operational at any time. The second pair is a backup in case the first pair gets damaged. The drones are launched via a pair of compartments on the side of the ship. Refueling capacity is limited by the size of the underslung expanded fuel tank, and repairs are limited by the amount of repair material the ship can haul in its cargo space. Though I suspect there will be hard limits on what a Vulcan can repair without the large repair arms present on the Crucible, regardless of the amount of material required, just to make, Crucible owners feel special. And for me, this begs the question, how much can a Vulcan really accomplish in the way of repair and refueling when you compare it to its mommy and daddy? The current concepts for the Vulcan and Crucible put their storage capacity at 12 and 230 standard cargo units respectively. Since repairs are supposed to be limited by the amount of material in the cargo hold, this would suggest that the Crucible can repair approximately 20 times what the Vulcan can before needing to resupply. And the question of fueling is even more shaky. Developers have tentatively suggested that the Starfarer can refuel about a dozen small ships or a couple of large ships. Here is a very rough comparison of the scale of a Starfarer and a Vulcan. If we assume that fuel can only be carried in the 6 rear tanks on the Starfarer because the front 2 tanks are refineries, A comparison of those to the size of the expanded fuel tank on the Vulcan suggests that it can refuel maybe at most one other ship. That doesn't seem right to me, but this is just a really rough guess, and I'm sure that the question will be answered in the Vulcan Q&A shortly, so take this with a huge dose of salt. As for rearming, I have absolutely no idea how that will work. Will we need to have a bunch of different ammunition types in stock, taking up precious room for repair materials? Or will the drones be able to manufacture ammunition on the spot, sort of like a Star Trek replicator?
Magazine, 30mm, hot.
I doubt we'll be that lucky, so we're probably going to have to give up the cargo space. But that just means that you'll have to carefully select your cargo according to the mission at hand. And, just in case you were wondering, I do expect the Vulcan to be able to repair and refuel itself, since it could use the drones on itself just as easily as on another ship, making this one of the most self-sufficient ships in the game. With the extended fuel and the ability to repair its own dings and dents on the road, while charging other players for the same service as a source of income, the Vulcan may be the best way for a solo player or a small group to see the galaxy on a budget. And that actually is one of my biggest goals. That's why I got a Starfarer. So, as long as you don't mind the occasional disintegration from alien particle beams or the like, this ship might be perfect for travelers. The Vulcan can be operated solo or by a crew of 3. This makes sense, especially considering there's room for a pilot in the cockpit and 2 turret operators. Having 2 additional crew allows the ship to remain mobile, defended, and functional in a cramped or dangerous situation like asteroid fields or combat zones, where a small ship like the Vulcan is likely to be most useful, because big, slow repair and refueling ships will make enticing targets for space rocks and enemy fighters, while the Vulcan's size and comparative maneuverability should allow it to get the job done with a minimum of fuss. Solo players should have no trouble operating their Vulcans as part of a larger group of pirates or mercenaries or merchants, or as a lone operator in civilian space, saving stranded idiots in starter ships where their potential reward isn't worth the fuel it would take to get a Crucible or a Starfarer out there. And this brings us to one of the things that I absolutely love about Star Citizen. Everything is carefully designed to leave a niche for every playstyle at every level of play. The Vulcan may not be as good at any given support role as a larger ship like the Starfarer or Crucible, but those ships do not obviate the need for a ship like a Vulcan. In fact, individuals or organizations who want to specialize in support roles like repair and refueling may still find they need a Vulcan right alongside their larger repair and refueling ships. And I think that is pretty cool. And that is all I've got for the Vulcan today. I'll try to cover the Q&A when it comes out and clear up any misconceptions that I may have created by discussing this ship before all the information was in. And since folks usually wish me and my family well when I make a video where I'm obviously ill, I'm just going to thank you all now. So, thanks. I'm the last holdout in my house, and even I'm on the mend. All my family is better, and I will be soon. So, thanks again. And thanks to everybody for watching and commenting, particularly those who left comments that I failed to answer while I was sick. I'm very sorry about that, but looking at screens really hurt. And I'll see you all next time.